I left my home. And it'll be 10,000 more before I am done. It all seems so simple, be home before Mass. Now the soldiers are drumming and they're coming in fast. We're going over, over. We're going over, over. Hello and welcome to this week's video, in which in honor of Remembrance Day I've made No Man's Land, or World War I Trenches. Remembrance Day is a day in which we take the time to remember the horrific events that unfolded after the world decided to divide itself into two equally large but obnoxious groups designed to keep each other in check. Sounds like a good plan, only problem is, it was bollocks. World War I, also known as the Great War, has been described as a war in which they rode in on horses and flew out of, which is a very poetic way of putting it. Another way of putting it is they piled 20 million corpses on top of each other until they reached the sky. But let's talk about the Lego. Smooth. In this video, I'll go over how I made this, the good and the bad bits, plus some of the more important details. I'll then finish off by building one of the most devastating inventions made throughout the war. So stick around to the end if you want to find out what that one is. The first thing I did was lift the whole scene of No Man's Land so I could have trenches on either side. I left a few areas here and there with only two studs to create an indentation to represent small digouts or even blast craters. I then gathered all my minifigs and equipment to find just the right expression and uniform to place it on the whole scene, which is my absolutely favorite thing to do in a build. Unfortunately, I didn't have many World War I appropriate minifigs or clothing, so I went for a simple red against blue setup. Here's where I was thinking of making into a blast crater, or maybe a blue spy could be overhearing the enemy is weak on this flank, but we'll get to the problem of scene building later. I just absolutely love these builds where there isn't just one position, you can set them up in any way you want, like in the intro the blues were attacking, or you can set them up as the both are fighting in the battlefield, which I don't think I never did. Or you can set them up as they're playing football, which they most definitely did on a Christmas morning. I never did figure out who won that game. I think that's something no one will ever know. Getting into the problem of scene building, I think these round spots is probably the best way of representing ground. I also had this black crater which is supposed to represent some kind of burning inferno, which might be okay for some Lord of the Rings builds or something, but I don't know how I feel about the whole thing. On the other side I got these stripe pieces, supposed to represent mud. I don't know how well that turned out to be either. So overall the ground is quite bad. I'll give it probably a 2 out of 10. It's terrible. So let me know in the comments how you would make this, cause I'm at a loss here. Moving on to the invention that caused the most deaths in the Great War. That's a weird intro. The machine gun. I made a few different versions of them. I think I ended up with 3 of them I quite liked. The first one here is probably the worst one of the 3, but at least sort of looks like a machine gun. The second one here is probably one that looks the most like the ones they originally had back then. And it's not bad, it's got good handles and a good tripod. It just looks a little bit thin. That's why the third one here is probably the best one. It's got enough complexity to look simple enough. I don't know, let me know what you think in the comments, which one you think is the best. I know there was another invention under the Great War, but I think that's a video for itself. Finally, I finished it off with this barbed wire, which is also a very important detail to have in the build, because No Man's Land was littered with it. And there's a lot of different ways to make it. I don't really think there's any right or wrong way. All of these look alright, just like you do. So that'll be it for me this time. As always, I'd like to thank you for watching. Please don't forget to press the likes and subscribe buttons if you haven't. And as always, you have a good day. I'll see you later. Bye.